this place.
We have to help them.
I will reclaim our world.
Some developers just don't learn from their mistakes, and Square Enix is one of them, who's enlisting SweetBaby Inc. to consult on multiple games for the company in the future, even after having a total disaster with Forspoken, which was one of the worst rated games and almost financially hamstrung the company. If you don't know Forspoken, it's a game that was changed from its overall development process, where they were mostly focusing on specific cultural narratives that would only be significant to people that lived in LA or New York, and that's where we get this terrible game with horrible dialogue, overall horrible narrative structure, and we were bringing that sensibility to all video games that are coming out from Square Enix. And I think that's the main thing that's going to have people concerned, because it seems like their censorship may overstretch out towards Final Fantasy VII, which is a game people are looking forward to, which already has been censored to no end. If you don't know anything about the censorship process that they have taken on Final Fantasy VII, you could just look back at the overall production of the characters, specifically Tifa, where she doesn't have the physics people were expecting her to have, or just the look of the characters themselves, where they're trying to inject modern day political ideals into the video game industry. And it extends to cutting out whole scenes and whole arcs of the story to placate what they think is Western modern sensibility. And this is coming from the consultancy firms, and people are suspecting SweetBaby Inc. has a big hand in the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that is coming out recently. And I think we have already known some big censorship processes that they took on with Final Fantasy VII. If you don't know, they have it listed right here, where just so many things were excised and eliminated from Final Fantasy VII Remake. We have the dropping of Sector 7 from the overall remake because it's references to 9/11, even though this game was made before 9/11, but they think it's too sensitive. But 20 years already passed. There's people that don't even know anything about 9/11 that may be playing this game that don't even recognize it as a traumatic event, and the people older enough that are around 40 years old, you shouldn't be playing a game if you feel you're too sensitive to any type of strife or violence in a game. You should just be going to see your therapist, and you don't need to play this game. I think that's the main thing, where no one has that real sensitivity they're talking about. Of course, they changed some character interactions. You have Dawn Corneo's wife selection, the censor the female characters there. You have Hojo's plan to breed Aerith, which I don't know what's wrong with that. I know it's obviously wrong that he's doing it, but it's okay to have that plot line. It's not like it actually happens, but they take that out because of modern sensibilities, or at least objectifying of women. There's some bad guys that objectify women. They should be seen as bad guys, so we're not going to show bad guys anymore in the way they're supposed to be seen. And this is where I have a problem with this whole philosophy, where not even bad guys can be bad guys anymore. They have to be misunderstood good guys. I'm like, no, let them be evil, let them be terrible people, so we know we have to fight back against them. But that is just a modern progressive social philosophy, where there is no good or evil, everything's in between, and things are just misunderstood. Even the most evil person has his own story. I'm like, no, if they do something absolutely evil and vile, they're a bad person. We have to recognize that, and that's how we make differentiations in society of what's good and bad. And you see this happening in social progressive societies like LA, San Francisco, New York, where there's no bad and good in the mind of the political activists or the people running the government, and you just have crime everywhere, because in their mind, this person that robbed grandma walking to the store has his own story. I'm like, yeah, his story should be actually in a prison cell for doing something so abhorrent. But that is just not the thought process of these people that have these progressive social mindsets, and these people are taking control of the video game sphere, specifically SweetBaby Inc. And this is where we're seeing that process develop, and we're thinking, okay, they may take this on into something else, one of our beloved franchises, just our favorite game in history, and that being Final Fantasy VII. We may never get that highly developed, or at least graphical powered version of the 1990s version, because they're stripping it of everything that made that game popular and exciting. They're taking some big elements out of the game, and I don't know where this thought process comes, where they feel more safe taking these parts out when they're not that offensive. They're actually in line with a lot of people, what a lot of people see in modern day storytelling, where you do have bad guys that can be eliminated, that are doing bad things that you fight against. There's nothing wrong with that, but I hate this moral gray area that everyone wants to put everything in. And I think think we're seeing that with SweetBaby Inc. getting involved with Square Enix, who has multiple failures that have come out because of this sort of mind and thought process, specifically Forspoken, one of their worst years because of that. And I think that's the thing where we're seeing massive layoffs with Square Enix and a bunch of other developers like Ubisoft, like Rocksteady. They're gonna go down because they're following this flawed mindset where they think the majority of game players actually want, and that's not the case. Obviously, Final Fantasy Remake will still be doing numbers because it's based on everyone's favorite game from the 90s, so it still has that by its side. But I think if they change too much things in the pursuit of following these progressive social ideals because SweetBaby Inc. tells them to, I think we're gonna have an overall loss of trust in this developer, and I think it's already losing its trust, and SweetBaby Inc. is at the center of it, and they're just grabbing hold of all these video game companies, these people that have no idea about video games, that are trying to just invade the space because they have their own political leanings, and they want their political leanings to be subjected to everyone outside of their thought process. They want everyone to think exactly like them. So this is more of a political activist motion and attack rather than improving games. They just want to change and give you their mindset. They want to make you think correctly like them because their thinking is the most correct thinking. And I think that's where we're getting involved with these social moral standards, where video games is not about that. We're killing things. We're in a fantasy world. We're not here for modern day LA politics in a video game. We saw that already fail with Forspoken, and we saw that fail recently with EA release another game about a 50-year-old black grandma that's shooting guns, and no one bought that game because no one wants to be a 50-year-old black grandma. You have a comparisons to the Stellar Blade, where everyone really wants to play as a 20-year-old supermodel Asian woman. The comparisons of just understanding your audience and what they want to play as is just so starkly different with these political activists. They try to force these character models, these character thought processes, and overall narrative structure in these games when people want the beautiful supermodel Asian girl with guns and wearing skirts to actually be the main character, not a 50-year-old black grandma with, of course, the half-shaven hair, maybe LGBTQ. And they thought this game would be a success, but it's not a success. It's a complete failure, and I think that's what we're going to get for future titles of Square Enix. I don't think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will be that bad of a game, the remake of it. I think it will be fine because people are just they have such nostalgia with that game, so it'll make money. So Square Enix is good for now. Any other properties they're working on are going to be abysmal. I guarantee that overall. If they're hiring SweetBaby Inc. to guide story and narrative structure, we're most definitely going to get a terrible story because we're getting stories from people that don't understand dialogue. They can't do anything in narrative or story structure. They're just political activists, and that's all they have in their mind. How do I get my activism into the game? How do I invade this space and influence it? They don't know anything about creating something fun and exciting just for a video gamer to play and actually enjoy themselves, because their goal is not your enjoyment. Their goal is their satisfaction of their ideals actually being implemented in something they feel like they don't have control of. And of course, video games is a total environment that a lot of activists don't have control over, and I think that's where we're getting this influence increasing and increasing with no end. And I don't know when it will end, because it just seems like it keeps getting support from large investment banks. So that is the main thing that we have a problem here. But you tell me what you think about SweetBaby Inc. invading Square Enix, taking control of it, and maybe influencing future games. Currently, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth might be one of those influences. Leave your comment, tell me what you think, like, share, and subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.